Welcome to Cast of Creators. We're your hosts. I'm Nelson Thal.
And I'm Casie Stewart. We've spent our careers in media and publishing, and now we're setting the stage for creative people who inspire us to share their stories.
Cast of Creators is presented by our new social browser called Hover.
Hover makes browsing fun. You can follow people and your favorite sites to discover and discuss the web all in one place. Download Hover, that's HVR, for iOS or Android.
Our guest today is Matthew Pasquale. I've known him since we were in a band together in high school. He went on to earn a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu and medal at the World Championships.
Matt also has a massive 6,000 square foot training gym in the GTA and offers personal coaching virtually or in the gym. We chatted all about sports, fitness, and even got a little throwback to some pictures of him and Nelson in the band. Here we go.
Well, Matt, welcome.
What's up?
It's an honor to have you here. A real full circle moment.
For real. How long we know each other for?
Oh, we've known each other since I was in grade 1.
Grade 1.
Whoa.
So that is...
That's an eternity.
I couldn't even tell you. I don't know what age you are in grades yet, but
I think
know...
six or 7. So I was best friends with his brother.
Okay, Henry.
His brother, we went to grade 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
And then we just, I went to a different school and we just lost touch. Like back then it was calling house lines and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
We're 10 years old.
Have an Instagram.
So one day I'm sitting in grade 9 class, math class, in the middle of class. I turned to the left or to the right, and Henry's sitting right there. And it was like we just picked it up right from there when we were 13. So
yes.
Yeah.
But one second, you were at Crestwood for a bit. Is that where you started?
That's where we met.
Yes.
Yeah. Grade 2, 3, and 4 I went to Crestwood. Then I went to Armor Heights, St. Mike's, and then Metro.
Right.
And Henry came middle of the year or middle of the semester, Metro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. And then you both were at Metro for grade 7?
No, it was grade 9 and 10.
Okay.
Then we went to Rosa Heights, and you came the following year because when we re-met up, you were still at Crestwood.
Right.
Yeah.
And those years that you were at Metro,
yeah.
You hadn't yet started playing bass, or was that when?
Okay, so I started playing music because Henry was playing guitar, and I thought he was really cool and stuff.
Yeah.
Which he was. He was very
still
cool.
Is.
Yeah.
Still is. Yeah. And he was really good. And not just good for kids our age, he was good for an adult.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, this kid's actually good at something. And you guys were putting together a band. It was Mobius Strip.
Yeah.
And he was a drummer, and then Richard was the other guitar player, and he needed a bass player. So I'm like, okay, I'll just play bass because that's what they need. And then that band kind of fizzled out, and what's his name came in? Josh came in, replaced me as a bass player. And essentially,
Josh's head is still spinning on how quickly you got good at bass.
It was crazy. So essentially, he replaced me, but it was necessary that he replaced me because I wasn't good. Okay. I just started, and he was really good. And then all of a sudden, I was just practicing and hanging out with you guys. And then one day, I'll never forget it. They needed a bass player because they were recording a track, and Josh didn't pick up his phone. He calls me. I pick up my phone, and it was like, "Okay, you want to be in the band now? Done." And that was Theta.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
And one thing that Matt is exceptionally great at is bypassing the crappy noob stage of stuff.
You just skip it.
I must say, and it's a testament to your discipline.
Yeah.
Because you hop into something and you get disciplined. And you basically are able to fast track a whole section of crap for normal people.
But I would say me getting good at playing the bass and joining that band, that was the first thing that I actually learned how to get good at. Right. I'm like, if you just apply yourself, you get good at stuff. Who knew? Right. No one taught me this.
Actually, hard work beats talent. I saw in one of your Instagram posts, and I was like, I'm with that.
Yeah, because up until then, I was just in school and played hockey, and you just do the bare minimum. And this was the first thing where I'm like, I'm gonna actually try to get good at this. Practice all night. I remember that summer I was supposed to get a job, and I was like, Mom, just let me have 1 summer off.
Yeah.
And I think your mom actually convinced my mom to let me have a summer off. I'm like, let me just get good at this. And I'd practice all hours. And I remember hearing my dad leave for the office, and I'm still practicing.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Josh is still good, and over time, and it just became what it was.
Do you still play music?
Not really, to be honest. And it's not because when you're a bass player, you need to play with other people. It's not very fun. Me and him would play a lot together. It's not the type of instrument that's fun to play on your own.
Yeah,
and maybe
Sean
drums is kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And there's a unique relationship between a drummer and a bassist.
Yeah.
And if, you're ultimately, if you're not in sync, stuff starts to sound pretty amateur pretty quickly.
Yeah, I would
You know?
say so.
Like the glue. If you think of a great R&B track, that glue that keeps the track together is the relationship really between the drums and the bass.
Yeah, like the rhythm section, we hold it down. You know, we not only are personally friends, but like musically, we need to be friends too.
Yeah.
And I think like me and Nal at one time became like, we were really, really close, like closer than Henry and I were.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's when our like coming together and playing music was probably its strongest.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we were hopping into, like with Theta, it was progressive rock. Like the influences on that band were it was complicated music. Like it was not amateur hour tracks.
Right.
And we put together an album called Through the Vanishing Point, which is on iTunes.
Yeah.
It is?
iTunes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know this about you.
We're big time, man.
Yeah,
we're big time.
gosh,
Like this is a
okay.
big deal for you.
This is going to be in the show. This is going to be in the show notes. Like,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to add it to my favorites.
We were 16 and he was 15 because he didn't have his license at the time.
Yes.
when we recorded that.
And you know what? Looking back at it, doesn't sound like 15-year-olds. I
Okay,
can tell you that.
Yeah.
So we ended up with this album that we had rehearsed and down extremely well, I'd say.
Yeah.
And we went into the largest studio in Toronto at the time. Maybe it still is, Phase One.
Yeah, I don't know. The studio game's changed, right? Now
Totally.
everything is private studios. People have setups in their, apartments and stuff.
And I thought it would be fun to dive into one of these clips.
Wow.
Okay. So
Where do you find this?
So I've got this clip. Henry graciously provided it. Okay.
Oh my God.
So for anyone listening that's not
I was
watching
16.
YouTube,
I was 16
you need
and
to
a
check
virgin,
out the
okay?
YouTube
Yeah.
so that you can see what's about to happen.
So here's Matt here. I'm here. This is Bob Gallo, who was our producer, who also produced James Brown and a couple other classic
Crazy.
guys. Henry's here, my brother and our singer. Check this clip out, Matt.
That is young.
It's amazing.
So we're listening back to one of Henry's takes of his solo.
I remember this. I remember that because he did a bunch of takes and we didn't know which one that he nailed, and that was the one he nailed, and then we all came together. And still, when I listen to that song, I never quite know if he's actually going to nail the notes.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's recorded, we obviously know, but I'm always like, okay, you got it.
Totally.
Wow.
We watch him. We've got some of the clips of him actually, playing the solo.
This is pre-iPhone.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
pre-iPhone. This is like my dad in there, proud father, just filming. And these, when you go into a studio like this as kids, you're on the clock, like every hour you're paying for. So you've got to come in incredibly polished.
Yeah.
And one of the songs on the album called Information Overload is an 18-minute long song.
Yeah.
Okay. 18 minutes. And I'll tell you, you should listen to the song. Okay. Information Overload. I mean, you definitely need 18 minutes.
You need 18 minutes.
Okay. But this is a complex track that on the album is the last time we ever played the song. Okay.
I think, did we play it live once?
We played it live once. Second last time we played it straight through. Like
And
that is
live? 18
together
minutes?
live. Yeah.
It's a big track.
It's
For
a big
crowd?
track. Pardon?
For like a crowd?
Well, we played it live after the album.
Okay.
But that take on the album is a straight take other than the guitar solo.
Yeah.
Wow.
You gotta remember, we were huge Pink Floyd fans, like really big Pink Floyd fans.
Mhm.
So we listened to The Wall and Echoes and Dark Side and all these albums like really influenced us.
Yeah.
And there's so much, when you listen to that song, there's so much Pink Floyd influence on that song.
Yeah.
That was like kind of like, we're Pink Floyd fans and like, here you go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'd say that if it was a love child between any bands, it would be like Pink Floyd, Dream Theater.
A little Dream Theater-ish.
Dream Theater-ish.
King Crimson.
King Crimson.
You know? Yeah, a little Dream Theater with the guitar, but I'd say Pink Floyd was definitely like the band that brought us together. So for me,
For sure. Me too.
I might have told you the story, but this was like this is right before I started playing music. When I first started, I started playing guitar just because Henry played guitar. I'm like, okay, I'll just do what he does. And then quickly after, they needed a bass player. So it was just, they just needed one. So I'm like, I'll just be that guy. But so Nell used to have like hundreds, not hundreds, but literally like 30 people at his house all weekend.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration. There would be so many people.
Yeah.
He was very, very popular.
And he was 13, 14. Yeah.
And he was in grade 8. And I remember they were watching the concert Pulse by Pink Floyd, and Comfortably Numb was playing, and I was walking past his room. And I remember I stopped and I looked in, and it was, David Gilmour's guitar solo, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
And that was like my first thing, like I gotta, whatever's happening here, like I gotta be a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
So, Pink Floyd is still, one of those bands that like anytime I listen to it, it brings me back to these specific moments. Sitting in the backyard, listening to the wall, the first side of the wall.
Totally.
And, all those times. So
totally.
Love that.
Yeah, I'd say that the first sort of moment that I had that was sort of a connection between me and music was Pink Floyd. Was Echoes, Pink Floyd. I listened to it. We were out west on a trip, and we were driving through the mountains, like from Calgary out west, and I had Echoes. They're like their best hits album on.
Yeah.
It was, it snuck in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so then we did that album, and then we had rented rehearsal space to start recording our next album. And this is probably now we're into our later teens.
I was at Metalworks, so I'd have been 18, 19.
Right.
Because Noah and I went to Metalworks, and Noah was a year older than me.
Yes. So Henry and Matt ended up going to a music high school.
Oh, cool.
We went to Rosa Heights.
Cool.
And they did very well at that school. I think
so.
Yeah. And then you graduated and went to Metalworks.
Yeah, I wanted to go to basically when I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I just started fitness, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time, like my last year of high school. But music was still number one. So I'm like, let me just, go become a recording engineer.
Oh, cool.
So me and Noah, who was the singer of the band, went to a school called Metalworks, which was basically a studio that also offered school.
Oh,
and it was
that's cool.
it was a full year program. And then we had rented space at this place, and we were doing basically the second album, which was trending very well. It was a little bit more King Crimson and less Pink Floyd. Because kind of like we were like music nerds, right? We were very technical and like we would nerd out about things, and like we were just building this album, and I don't really know how the band kind of like stopped becoming a band. It just kind of fizzled away slowly,
Yeah. Life creeps in.
Yeah.
And also, you know what? What ends up happening is you start to hit this wall of, are you going to tour? Like, are you going to start?
I've never been in a band.
Are you going to take this seriously enough to actually do a ton of shows?
Yeah. I think that too. And, life too, like Henry started dating a girl. Noah had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like we're in, university or other, like I went to university after Metalworks, and just things kind of happen, and it is what it is. And it's very hard to keep a band together from, essentially high school till, in your 30s.
And actually, rewind a little bit when we just finished the Theta album. We had our Theta Parents Association.
Oh, yeah.
So, because what ends up happening is like, you're paying for the studio. Then we got a deal with this record company, Lost Gold.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what ends up happening is it sort of takes on a life of its own, and all of a sudden, the record company and the people around you are trying to push you around.
Yeah.
Okay. And trying to push our lead singer around. And he wasn't a good push around guy. Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't want to start pushing him around because he'd recoil. Like if you push him, he just recoils from it. So we ended up in this deal, and then we all were like, let's get out of this deal. Okay.
We're all 17 is the oldest and 15 is the youngest. We're all minors.
Yeah,
we don't know what we're doing.
Right. Yeah. So that's why we needed that's why we needed the Parents Association. So we decide, we want to get out of this deal. So they basically threatened us with a lawsuit to stay.
I got served papers at my house.
Right. You got right.
My dad's like, what is this? They're like, we're suing your son. I'm like, but he's 16.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
That was the most fugazi lawsuit of all time.
Totally.
You're suing a bunch of high school kids. We're just like, from a verbal agreement. The guy's like, yeah, you owe me all this because you like said you would do it. Like, well, we're 16.
Yeah, exactly. And we ended up having a meeting at your house with
Was that
all of
my-
the parents.
I thought it was at your house.
Maybe there were two then, but I remember one being at your house.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
In like, in between the kitchen area and the kitchen.
There was a major one at your house, which was
Yes.
deciding to go to the studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was good. Remember, actually, before we decided to go to the studio to the second half, remember, our lead singer didn't want to go, or we were all sort of contributing cash to pay for the studio time, and he didn't want to, and we were screaming into pillows because I'm so pissed off.
Yeah.
So that was
my gosh, I love
incredibly
this
fun
throwback.
times. It really feels, as you get to this age, like into your 30s, it's like it feels like a prior life.
It does.
In some respect.
Well, it kind of is, right? Like,
Yeah.
every
it was
7
another
years
time.
could be like a new life. And that was, for me, that was like two versions of myself ago. There was like the gym owner Matt now, and then the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Matt, and then the music Matt.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's like two different variations of who I was.
100%, because you started to get into the BJJ and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
That's also because of you too.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, because Mart was into MMA early.
we started watching the UFC, and I remember it was the Ultimate Fighter 1, and when Randy Couture was really big. So for people who know MMA, Randy Couture is like the GOAT of MMA. Him versus Chuck Liddell, we would watch all the fights, and back then there were like every month and a half to 2 months. There was actually a lot of anticipation, and I was 18 at the time because I started jiu-jitsu 5 days before I turned 18. I went there. They're like, you can't sign the waiver. You're 17. I'm going to be 18 next week. They're like, okay, fine. And originally I went there and I'm like, I want to learn how to punch and kick people.
Yeah.
Because like when you watch the UFC as an 18-year-old kid, you don't see like the intricacies of grappling. You just see violence.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that looks cool. So I went there and like they said, well, we don't have kickboxing at this time. We have jiu-jitsu. I'm like, okay, I'll just try this. And fast forward, I'm 34, trained this morning,
Yeah.
So that I almost feel like maybe at that time the band was starting to shift, and then this new passion of mine was starting to grow, and it just kind of like
crossfaded.
Yeah, crossfaded essentially. Like this will now take up the majority of my time and energy, and that is kind of fading off.
Absolutely. And you basically soaked up this wealth of knowledge at the BJJ that you were just bursting with and sharing. Because I remember we were sort of doing a bit of training together at that, and it was unbelievable because actually it opened our eyes to what the heck these guys on the UFC were even doing.
We're actually doing,
like we knew we knew the guard, like we knew the basics. We knew the basics,
like from the announcer, but we didn't know anything. Like, it's hard to see jiu-jitsu unless you've actually experienced it, because there's a lot of detail and a lot of like pressure and a lot of like, we call it like invisible jiu-jitsu, where it's like, you could see the submission, but how did he get there?
Yeah.
So you start in jiu-jitsu is there the belts? There's white belt, right?
Everyone starts with a white belt.
Okay, so you start at your white belt.
Yeah.
And you basically were you going there every week or twice a week, or what was the routine?
I can't really remember when I first started. I liked jiu-jitsu, but I also liked kickboxing as well and boxing, so I was kind of doing everything. But my actual love for jiu-jitsu grew when I was about a blue belt, which would have been, I got my purple belt in 2009, I think. So 2008, 2009, 2010, like around then, because previous to that, the instruction we had was good, but it was a little bit behind in terms of like the world stands, like the world standings. So we would go to tournaments locally, and like, I wasn't confident if I was going to win just because, our instruction and our systems weren't that good. So we switched affiliations. So every jiu-jitsu gym is affiliated with like a bigger affiliation.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So think of it like a Hell's Angels. You have Hell's Angels, Hamilton and Milton, but we're all Hell's Angels.
Right.
That's the easiest comparison.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, I did Taekwondo.
Okay,
and,
cool.
Competed in Taekwondo, but it was like ITF.
You competed in Taekwondo.
Yeah, I won an Ontario like sparring championship.
Yeah.
I was like really good at sparring. I also was on a wrestling team.
Cool. We're actually going to fight after this.
Yeah, we're going to fight.
Yeah.
I love when you said my love for kicking and punching. I also love kicking and punching. I went from being like a ballet dancer, and then I transitioned and I did Taekwondo.
Oh, a transition.
Yeah, but I mean, I got all my trophies at home and stuff. Like, I love to fight, and I'm really good at a high kick. I could probably roundhouse you in the face.
In the face?
Well, I probably pull guard,
I broke someone's jaw once, and I roundhoused him in the face.
You've broken a jaw.
Yeah, we
Wow.
had a black belt come to my club, and I was a teenager,
And
and
that
he
was a
like,
problem.
I know, because we were sparring, because like
Yeah.
I was a teenager, but he goes, my mom was watching, and it was like in slow motion. He goes, "Come on, Casie, just hit me," and my mom goes, "Oh fuck, here we go," and I just went, and I slapped him right in the face, and he was out for 3 months, and I was like, "Don't tell me to do that ever again."
Wow. I guess
So you
he broke
assaulted
up
another
with you.
human.
Yeah,
Must have broken up with you after that.
he wasn't my boyfriend.
It's like, wow.
Because I was like,
Where was
like,
this? New Zealand?
No. I grew up in like Kitchener, like Waterloo, Cambridge area.
Oh, okay.
Kitchener. It was in Kitchener.
Downtown.
Downtown Kitchener.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It was like,
How many years did you do that?
I did it for 4 years. I have my green belt. And I also used to do like self-defense seminars at the mall.
Cool.
So they would do like, my dad did it, my mom, we did it Taekwondo as a family. I never told you this?
I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to be more careful around you
Yeah.
now. I've been pushing my
Why
luck.
did you start doing martial arts again?
I would like to. I would like to come to your gym, but we already talked about that it's so far.
Well, my gym, we don't have jiu-jitsu. It's just strength and conditioning. But if you want to do jiu-jitsu, I feel like that's the martial art that anyone gets into now. It's like the most popular.
I would really enjoy it. And
There's
like,
jiu-jitsu places near you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like on like one of the first like grade 7 and 8, I was on a girls wrestling team, and it was one of the first like wrestling teams in Ontario.
Cool.
And I was like also a champion of that. I really enjoy, you might not think, is I love fighting actually.
If you like wrestling, you like grappling a lot.
Yeah,
Because it's
for
like
sure.
wrestling with submissions.
Great.
So I feel like the end goal of wrestling is not like satisfying. Like pinning somebody is like,
No.
but when you tap somebody out, they basically admit that you killed them or damaged their limb.
That
right?
sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
so.
you should go to either the BJ. I mean, you'd know more.
Toronto
about-
BJJ, Blue and
Yeah,
Christie.
Yeah. Actually, I know exactly where it is.
You should go there. I
Oh.
mean, Casey's been getting since the pandemic, I guess. You've been getting deep into weight training.
Yes, I love weight training.
Well, let's talk about it. Where are you
Yeah.
training?
So I train at a gym called the Body Engineers. It's on
Body Engineers.
It's near my house in the Junction Triangle. And before I went there, I didn't know how to use any of the machines. And now, like, I can use any machine in the gym. I like love doing the squat rack. I love like doing deadlifts. I love doing everything. I was like, last night there was a new guy in my class. I go like 3 times a week. And I was like looking at the weights that he's lifting, and I was like, I got this guy beat. And I was like, it's not like it's a competition, but I mean, it gave me
Feels good.
certain joy, because I was like, oh, and like I actually have like pipes now. I remember one day, Nelson gave me a hug, or he tapped me on the arm. And he's like, "Whoa, Case."
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He was
I
like-
almost canceled the whole podcast. I didn't like what I mean. That's why I put
expecting
this
that.
here. I moved this, try and create a barrier.
I think that's very common, especially so now it's not as I don't want to say taboo, but I think like women always had like a negative reaction to weight training. They're like, oh, if I like touch a weight, I'm going to be massive and huge, and it's not really like that.
I felt like
No.
that.
Yeah, it's not like that at all. It's like if I give you a hockey stick, you're not going to wake up and be Wayne Gretzky, right? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I mean,
It's true though.
Yeah.
I love it, because I was also afraid, like, I'm 5'2", like I'm not like a huge person, but I also was like, I don't want to be like, hey, I'm jacked. Like, I don't want to be like, but I mean, I love now that I have muscles, like my legs are really strong, and like I can like lift stuff, it makes me feel really, really good. And
Amazing.
like to get me now doing jujitsu, like Sean, my boyfriend, he's like, I'm more worried about, if I'm out somewhere at night, he's like, I'm more worried about getting a call from the police that you injured someone versus you calling and saying something happened to you.
Yeah,
Because I'm
Yeah, it
like,
would be good.
I feel really strong now. Like, don't mess with me.
Well, my thing was kind of the opposite. Like I started jiu-jitsu first, and then I lifted weights to become strong for grappling.
Yeah.
I just felt like I felt weak. I was 18, and I would say like puberty wise, I was probably a late bloomer. I didn't really feel like I went through puberty until like 19, 20, 21, where everyone was just more physical than me. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. And I started, there was a guy that I used to train with, and he said every Saturday we do this like strongman group, just come flip tires, lift up stones, just, in a group. And it's the same group of guys that I was grappling with. So I'm like, okay, cool. I started going there, and I never missed a session. It was close to my house. It was easy. It was like something I looked forward to. And then from there, we added 2 weight training days in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of started my direction into weight training.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the coach that I had, Josh Hewitt, I was asking him, like, what did you do? You went to school, like, tell me what you did. And he's like, you should go get a kinesiology degree. And that's what I did. After the audio engineering degree, I went to York to do kin.
Cool.
And that's kind of started my love of weight training.
That degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I started university.
3 year?
I took it 5 years, but I never did a full course load because I still want to train and do stuff. And I would take courses in the summer and stuff. But I started university 2 years after normal, like the normal age of university. So I started when I was 20. Most people start when they're 18, turning 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you then started to compete in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right?
I competed right away when I first started. And then there was a year and a half, 2 years that I didn't really compete, but I was also boxing. And I liked boxing a lot, but I just don't think, like, personality-wise, I don't think I'm meant to box, because the thing about boxing is it's very, like, it's more violent. It's more aggressive and it's more violent. Like, when you hurt somebody, you're, like, actually trying to hurt them.
Yeah.
Where I find in jiu-jitsu, it's like you could beat somebody, but I'm not trying to hurt the person.
But it's like a combination of, like, skill, maybe.
Yeah.
It's more, like, aggressive.
But boxing still is a high level of skill, but it's like if you hurt a guy and you see he's hurt, you got to put him out, or you got to you got to continue that. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I just find the culture is not the same. Boxing gyms are very hostile because everyone's like eyeing you down. Everyone's like, "Yo, we're gonna fight because we're fighting."
Yeah,
grappling gyms are welcoming. It's like we have this camaraderie built up because, like, you tap me, I tap you. We're friends. Like, we've gone through this thing together.
Right.
But boxing didn't feel that way, and at the time, I might not have been aware of it, but looking back now, I think that was another thing. And also, I had gotten 2 concussions fairly close together that weren't like a huge red flag, but it just wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't the thing that I wanted to pursue. And also, we had a new jiu-jitsu instructor and a new affiliation that got everyone way better. And we had sent a kid to Worlds named Tommy, who's the only Canadian to win Worlds.
Wow.
He won it at Blue Belts, which is, there's white, blue, purple, brown, black. To win it at Blue Belt is still very, very high level. I would say sometimes it's even tougher because a lot of people, as you go through the belts, competitors start to fall off.
Yeah, of course.
So, like, obviously Black Belt's the hardest, but at Blue Belt, you just have so many guys.
Yeah.
There's like 200 people in your division. And when I saw that, it just kind of opened my eyes, like, wow, this random kid from, like, my country who I train with won Worlds. Like, he is the best of the world. The best in the world that has his weight class and his belt. So he almost like paved the way and showed us that it was possible. And that's when I like doubled down in jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I'm just going to do this.
And you also won a world.
I came third.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 2 bronze.
You competed, yeah.
My first worlds that I did was at purple belts.
Yeah.
I got bronze in my weight class. And when you do your weight class, you could also decide to enter the absolute class. It's not mandatory, but in order to enter the absolute class, you have to at least medal in your weight class.
And what is the absolute class?
No weight class.
Oh,
so it's whatever, whatever size people are, but they're all medalists.
Right.
So at that time I did super heavy. So I'm usually like 220 to 225. Super heavy is the second heaviest weight class. So I was 221 and under. And you could face a guy who's lightweight, who's like 167, 181. It doesn't matter. But it's up to them to compete. Right. You have to physically go and sign your name up for it.
Right.
And then I got third in that as well. So that was my best world competition that I did. Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. So who's
pretty good.
in charge of deciding that someone's no longer a blue belt and they're like the next belt up? Because I
famous question, dude.
Because I guess
like, do you have to do a grading?
It's not like but traditional martial arts like Taekwondo and karate and stuff like that. There's a lot more that goes into it. It depends. If you're a competitor, I'd actually say you'd probably get held back at the belts longer. Because say if I was a purple belt and I went to Worlds and I got third, they may be like, okay, next year you get gold. So let's hold it back. A bronze medalist purple belt could probably beat any black belt any day of the week who's recreational. But just because you could beat that black belt doesn't mean you're a black belt.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, but the thing is, though, you could hold a guy back, not give him the next belt, and he'd go in as like a black belt with a purple belt.
That's a theory. They call it sandbagging. It works to a point because now that the sport's so popular, you have kids that have started at 5 years old. So when they're 15, they're 10 years in the game at blue belt. Because I think you can't get your purple belt until you're 17 or 18. I can't remember the exact age.
So you won a medal as a purple belt?
I won 2 medals at Worlds at purple.
What medals? Third
in both the weight and the absolute.
So can you say the second and first they're black belts? They should have been There should have been
Nah,
other belts.
You can't
Yeah,
say that.
no.
They were purple belts. We were all purple belts at that day.
Except 1 and 2. They were.
Well,
they
on
should have
that
Here's
been.
the thing: the guy who beat me in the absolute won the absolute Felipe Pena, and he got his brown belt on the podium. So technically, but no, it doesn't work that way.
That's funny. I was gonna make a joke about
Yeah.
that, but they actually did.
Yeah, they promoted. He won weight.
That's
on the
undermining.
podium.
Yeah, he won the weight in absolute and tapped everybody. He's a phenom, and he's considered one of the best grapplers right now.
Wow.
But you got to remember too, like at that time, if you don't sign up for the like say if you're the best purple belt in the world and you don't go to the competition, like no one knows.
Yeah.
Right.
And some Brazilians don't have visas. Like it's in California. Like there's a lot that goes into it. But once you get to black belts, all of that stuff is kind of pushed to the side because like once whoever wins the black belt absolute championship, that is the best black belt at that time.
Mm-hmm. You
Yeah.
can't zoom in or Google me in.
Yeah, you
That
can't like the best black belts are signing up for the competition. There's no like random guy who's really good that just doesn't compete.
Right.
Because like he wouldn't be as good as that guy because that guy is a professional, right?
Mm.
You got to think it takes X amount of years to get your black belt.
Yeah.
Most of the guys are like 21 to 30. You would think they would have a job by now, unless their job is jiu-jitsu,
Right.
How long did it take you? 'Cause you have your black belt.
Yeah, I got my black belt in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you my mom is second dan black belt in Taekwondo?
No.
She's like hardcore. Yeah.
Wow.
We just found out all this now.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Maybe you told that about, but you know what? Casey's mom has some other interesting eccentricities and quirks and interests
Oh, yeah?
that
She's
supersede
sailing
that
to the Bahamas right now on her boat.
from
Oh, yeah.
From Ontario.
Hudson's Bay. Not Hudson's Bay, from Lake Huron.
Yeah.
Like by yourself?
No, with her boyfriend.
Oh.
Yeah.
She goes from Lake Huron
It's the second
down
time
through
they've done
Simcoe,
it.
down through the
Yeah.
Trent to the St. Lawrence, out and down.
Yeah, they're
Wow.
like in North Carolina right now. She's been gone since June.
Yeah.
Just on a boat.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
a
so
40-foot sailboat. Yeah. So she's, aside from being like a master sailor, she's also a second dan black
That's
belt.
crazy.
Yeah, that superseded the Taekwondo and
But yeah, that's
My
much
eccentric
cooler.
my eccentric family background.
Yeah. That's
well,
wild.
yeah. I mean, Casey's from New Zealand.
Yeah, that's also. So when I just had lunch with someone I've been working with for 2 years, and we finally met today in person.
Yep.
And he's like, I said, oh, I'm from New Zealand, and he's like, who the hell's from New Zealand? Like, it's very rare to meet someone from New Zealand
Yeah.
because there's like 20 million sheep and 3 million people. It's like
If somebody says, "Are you from Australia?" do you take offense to that?
Yeah, well, I went to university in Australia, so like
Yeah.
I don't actually take offense to it, but I would say like there's a C word that's used in Australia and New Zealand very commonly
Right.
that you might say F you, that. But like as a joking, it's like a term of endearment there. But
I used to train
Wow.
with a guy from New Zealand. He would go nuts. We just call him an Aussie. He's like, "I'm not from New Zealand." I'm like, "All right." Like your accent sounds the same. Like,
no,
sorry,
it
bro.
doesn't. It does not
See?
sound the same. It does not sound the same.
It sounds the same
Well,
to us.
it would.
Yeah.
To us it does.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we would know if you kept that accent going. But
Yeah.
You scrubbed it out.
It comes out sometimes, usually after a few drinks. Hey, gang.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Not today.
Not today. No.
So, what weight training gym were you at, and how long did you dive into that before you realized you wanted to start your own gym?
Okay. So, I competed the heaviest in jiu-jitsu from 2011 to 2014. Okay. That was
Wow.
like when I went all. That's when I went all in. So after our band, I was playing in other bands, and there was one that was I played in the band with Ari.
Right.
And we lived together, and then I played in another band shortly. And I remember I was competing in jiu-jitsu and playing in this band, and they like felt not like it was a conflict of interest, but my heart was somewhere else. And I felt that too. And they had, sat me down and spoke to me. I'm like, yeah, I just want to do jiu-jitsu. That was in 2011.
Wow.
So in 2011, yeah,
Serious ultimatum.
I think it was right after Worlds where I was like, wow, I actually did well at this tournament. So
you would have been placed first. You would have placed first if it hadn't have been for that band.
No. The guy who beat me, the 2 matches I lost in the weight and the absolute they beat me.
Yeah, they
They're
weren't
better
in
than me.
bands.
Yeah, they weren't in bands. So then around that time, I kind of just, our gym was doing really well and there was a lot of momentum and everyone was training hard. So I'm like, let me jump on this thing. So 2011 to 2014, and I was personally training people at their houses. And then I rented space at a gym called Blast Athletic. That's not there anymore, but that was at DuPont and Spadina.
Okay.
So I'd go there, I'd pay the owner of the gym a fee per session, and I could charge whatever I want on top of that. And that helped me build a client roster and some rapport and stuff. That gym has gone out of business. I think he gave up his lease, and then the gym that took it over also went over out of business because they opened up around when COVID happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now I think it's a dance studio, but great location, right where the subway is, parking.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. I'd go there, pay him like $16 per session, and then I charge whatever I want, and that helped me build a good like foundational client roster and some experience and stuff like that, you know. So
then Apex started when?
That was September 1st, 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. And so you had so like how many clients would you have at that point?
I'm not exactly sure. I was more concerned about like monthly revenue.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a big space, 6,000 square feet, right?
My old one was 8,000. So you went to the original one when we first opened.
Yeah, because it's big. Like I've seen your gym and I was like,
it's big.
Gosh, if it wasn't so far, I'd go there.
Yeah.
That was in 2015.
That was September 1st, 2015. That's when we opened.
Yes.
So the last jiu-jitsu tournament I did was Worlds 2014. I'll never forget. I was going against this guy. I started to do ultra heavy instead of super heavy. Ultra heavy, there's no end to the weight class. You could be, as long as you're over 222, you could be 1,000 pounds. It doesn't matter. And there was this guy. There was this guy that we were brown belts at the time. And I just remember seeing him a couple of years ago, and he looks like a bowling ball. He's just a huge human. Like he walks like his feet don't track this way. His like body shifts when he walks.
Mm-hmm. And he's an ultra heavyweight.
Some would say he's an ultra heavyweight, and there's no chance he's going to go below ultra.
Right.
Like this guy's 100%
he can't cut to super.
He can't cut. And I was always like plus or minus 5 pounds, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to worry about my weight. I just want to go and compete because it doesn't matter anyways. And so first round, me and him are against each other. I'll never forget. I was thinking about my gym, like opening my gym while we were competing. And I tie up with him. I'm like, whatever I do, don't pull guard. Like you don't want this guy on top of you.
Right.
I grab his gi, he grabs my gi, and he's like, he feels like a wall. He's just walking forward. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like this guy's he's just too big of a human. And I pulled guard. He passed my guard once. I think I re-guarded, but the match was trash and I lost. I'm like, you know what? My head is now pursuing this other thing where I want to open my gym. I want to spend a little bit of time doing that. And so Worlds would have been 2014, May, June-ish, like the end of May, beginning of June. So then July, August, September, October. Yeah, it would have been like about 9 months after that when we opened the gym. Because my brother and I were looking at leases. You know, it took us a long time to find a lease because there's we wanted a warehouse space.
Yeah.
And there's different zoning issues where you can't have a gym or fitness facility in a industrial building.
Right.
They passed some law a couple of years ago. Because obviously the rent is cheaper. So guys, they want to have that for industrial businesses.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So we found a loophole. Yeah, where
every little thing so you can't get a business going.
Yeah. So our loophole for the first building was the guy had leased out 40,000 square feet for his tile business, and he subleased us the last 8.
Okay.
Oh,
so we subleased it from him. So we didn't have any conflicts.
Yeah, little loophole.
Yeah, but it was actually pretty tough to find that. And yeah, we signed a lease. I signed a 3-year lease, and September 1st.
And that was that first one.
That was the first building. And you'd been to that one.
Yes. I remember it quite well because that was when I got to my goal weight of my diet. Yeah. And you hadn't seen me for that whole period of time. We had just like lost touch. But Nell and I's friendship is interesting. Like I could not talk to him for 10 years and like we're friends again. Like it doesn't really matter.
That's a sign of a true friendship. It's like you haven't seen them in a while, and as soon as you see each other, you just pick up where you left.
Yeah. And he like went through an insane transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like very, very drastic.
Yes.
But I'd not seen any of that process.
Yeah, completely separate.
Was that before you met Talia?
Oh yeah. This is
okay.
I lost 130 pounds in 2014.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started basically the prior fall.
Yeah.
And so I came to this event and that was quite
who's this guy?
Quite the interaction.
Look at you.
Yeah. Well, you
jumping in a gym.
Like Nell, ever since I've known him, has been like a heavier kid, right?
Oh yeah.
From like grade 1 and 2. Like he's always just been that. So it's just kind of like something, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Until that moment.
Yeah. And that possibly was the last time we've seen each other.
Could have been,
Maybe once between, but that was probably the last time we saw each other.
Yeah.
So that was 2015.
Cool.
Wild. So we signed a 3-year lease there. And that was, honestly, that 3 years was a blur because I went from being essentially like a personal trainer. So my only goal was to work with my clients. I didn't understand how to run a business.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how to manage employees, none of that.
Yeah.
And also I never had a fixed work schedule.
Right.
I was only working when I had to train people. So like my for me, I always have these things that I like doing and I try to integrate my work into that. So like I love doing jiu-jitsu. Now I really love hiking and stuff, but before mainly it was jiu-jitsu and training.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, okay, how do I fit my work schedule around my jiu-jitsu schedule?
Right.
But now that I have a gym, I remember the first day I went there at 6 a.m. I called my dad. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I've never had a job. Like essentially like a normal,
like a regular, like a job,
like a 9-to-5 job, other than odd jobs here and there in high school and whatever. And now I'm just sitting there like, what do I just start typing? Like, what do I do?
You're like,
like, what do we do?
how do I do this?
So I kind of chalked the first 3 years up as like a learning experience. And good thing is like I was already doing pretty good personally to at least float the rent. And, we started having clients come and word of mouth and all that stuff. But then we moved after that lease to my new space. And that's when I like have really figured it out. Yeah. Hired staff and have systems and all that stuff. So the first 3 years were almost like
the training years.
An education in what to do. Yep.
So now do you have basically a gym manager and a bunch of trainers and you're all coordinated? Like what's your structure now?
I still don't have a manager. I would say I'm still like the manager and handle like operations and stuff, but I have, front desk staff, I have trainers, I have people that do all the tasks for me for the most part. I still like to be there Monday to Friday at some degree, but like if I'm not there for a week, everything runs smooth.
Yeah. Beautiful.
It's not just relying on me. And I used to run a lot of the personal training sessions. So our gym, we do a lot of PT, personal training. We have group sessions and open gym as well. Those are kind of our 3 tiers of revenue. I used to take on every personal training client. Anytime we got a referral, a cold lead, whatever, I took them all on to the point where I was running about 25 to 30 hours per week of PT.
Oh, wow. That's
which it doesn't sound like a lot for somebody who works like a 40 to 50 hour a week job.
It's a lot because like personal training, it's like you're really involved. I do group training classes, so there's like 5 of us, but like even that is like, I can imagine a lot, but I mean, that is a lot. It's
like 30 hours in person. Remember, it might be your 10th session of the day. It's still their first. Yeah. So you have to be on. You have to be like engaged. You have to make sure everything's good, plus programming and then plus running the gym, which was fine. But now I refer everyone out. It's not like I don't want to train people, but unless it works perfectly with my schedule and you're an all-star client where you don't complain, you show up, you work hard, I'll just hand you to somebody else because like I've already done that. I've already like held people's hands and like begged them to work out and like, come on, you got like I've already done that.
Yeah.
And my guys, they need work too, right? Like they're here. They, I give them the client. They need to go through that process just like I did.
Yeah.
Right. So right now, that's kind of where my head's at in terms of the business. I want to focus on the business, but not really do all like the nitty gritty work. I want to be from the outside and help grow it for everybody.
Yeah. Beautiful. And in terms of your group sessions, you've got Apex Strength, Apex Conditioning, Apex Burn, Apex Strong. Let's go through some of them and walk through why I would want to do one versus another.
Okay. So the names are not misleading, but essentially, so my philosophy on training is get the person to move well first, address like what movement issues they have, then load them and get them strong. I fully believe everyone needs to get strong. Most people, if you've never lifted weights, you're just weak, straight up.
Yeah.
Stronger people are harder to kill. Stronger people, like being strong is never bad. No one's been like, oh man, I'm way too strong. Like that's never been something.
I don't complain about that.
It's a big confidence booster. Like knowing that I'm strong, it's like, can't nobody break my stride, I know.
So the gym names, to be honest, I kind of have them in place because when a customer comes, they need to see a variety. Mm-hmm. But once they're in our system, it's all group training. Mm-hmm. our group training style is I call it individualized personal training.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a group, but like the programming and the relationship you have with the coach is pretty individualized because our groups are only like 6 to 8 people and they know you. Like I know these people. I know what they did last week. It's more hands-on. Yeah. When you're a member of my gym too, we actually send you out the program a week ahead of time. So you get the program for the week and you can say, okay, I'm going to go to these classes. These are the workouts. I'm going to track my numbers. So it's a little bit more involved. With that, there's obviously, higher price points. But it's not just like a random class that somebody puts together on the board and just runs you through it. I would say the conditioning classes are more like that, but the goal of a conditioning class is to burn calories, to fatigue the person, and to work on whatever energy system we're trying to do that day. Usually like HIIT training or anaerobic training. But when it comes to strength training, there has to be a goal. I want to get stronger on the X, deadlift, squat, press. Okay, well, if we only deadlift on week 1 and then we don't deadlift till week 6, how are you going to get stronger?
Right.
Like, if you look at anything you've gotten good at, it takes hundreds and hundreds of repetitions.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about the drums.
Yeah.
How many times you practice that pattern?
Yes.
And so you can't not do it.
Right.
And I think people need to approach strength training as a skill. Yes. Obviously, the weights get you stronger, but the active squatting, and you know this, it's a skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you're teaching your body to organize it. You're putting heavy weight, relative, and you're going up and down. Well, in that up and down, a lot of bad shit could happen.
Yes.
You could die. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like the bar could crush you.
Yeah.
Totally.
But if you know how to do it properly, the world record squat right now, I think is 1,100 pounds.
Wow.
Like there's people who could put up some big, big weights.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
What's your best squat?
1100?
1101.
No, I'm not there yet. But I mean, the fact that like the first time I ever put the bar on and I had weights on, first I started with just the bar. And then now I'm putting weights on. And now I'm putting more weights on, like a couple plates. Like maybe like, it was like 10 and 10 on each side. And now it's like 10 and 15, 10 and 15 on each side. And it's like just the fact that I can do that, or even that I don't need someone to like assist me to do it. And I know, and I'm like, no problem. Because when I do my circuit training in small group personal training, I'm like, no problem. Put some more weights on. And then I just like, I do my squats and I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, no, it's okay. Put more weight on. There's no better feeling for me than to be like, fuck yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Like I leave the gym and I'm like, guess what? I fucking bench today, or like how much
amazing.
I squatted last night. I'm like, I feel so excited.
It's amazing because I think at the end of the day, like something about displaying a strength or being strong is very like humanistic, right? Mm-hmm. Like people want to be strong, they want to be physical, they want to like know that, wow, I'm like a strong, powerful person, right? So that's basically the theory behind Apex, where I wanted to be more hands-on, more coaching oriented. And I think that's why we have a lot of personal training clients as well. I'd say business wise, about 50-50, 50% personal training and 50% memberships. That includes group training. And then open gym are just people that come, they pay a fee, they can just lift on their own. Some people pay a fee and they like also have a program. That's kind of like a hybrid model. But I find that people that do the group coach sessions, they're either doing that or people are just like, you know what, I want to do my own thing. I'm an ex-athlete, or I'm used to this environment of the gym, because my gym's not like a Good Life or a traditional gym. It's a warehouse. I have like 2,000 square feet of artificial turf, racks, platforms. Like, I could have 14 people squat at once if I wanted to. It's more that style. So it's not very, I shouldn't say it's not beginner friendly, because the atmosphere and the coaching is beginner friendly. But if you went as an open gym member and you've never stepped into a gym, it's not very intuitive. There's no like treadmills and like
you're not going to know what to do.
You're going to look around and be
like self-serve turnkey for a noob.
Yeah.
You're not going to look around and be like, okay, like what do I do?
Is this a gym?
Like, but maybe intimidated, because like when I used to have a Good Life membership, and the only thing I would ever do is I would go on the treadmill, I do the stair thing, and then I do like, I'd go in the open, like where they do the classes, like, whatever, like
the group training area,
and I would do like a Nike training app workout of like 10-pound weights, and I would do that. I would have, if I hadn't done personal training or group personal training, I would have no idea what to do, because I would look at any machine, and especially if I went to a gym where there was like a lot of really strong men or women, I was like, I'm fucking terrified, and I wouldn't know what to do, because I was intimidating, and I was like, well, one, I don't want to hurt myself, and two, I don't know what to do.
I think that's most people's experience in the gym too. And unless you're going to invest in a personal trainer or somebody to show you what to do, most people are just going to stick to what they know. You're going to the gym and you're walking on the treadmill. Like what are we really doing here? You're not getting stronger.
No,
you can just walk outside, really.
Yeah.
Right? Like you go to the gym, like in my
donut store.
Yeah. I think that you should be going to the gym to get stronger.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the act of getting stronger or building your body up, it's self-development at the end of the day. They're trying to actually build up yourself, and the methodology is weight training. Right.
But for someone like you are incredibly fit and you've got a lot of muscle, but what would you do differently in your own personal routine to be like a bodybuilder body type? Like,
okay, so
how does that change?
Well, okay, so my personal training, like how I train myself from the age of 18 to 34 has changed a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. When I was in my 20s and all the guys who were 35 plus told me like, it's going to catch up with you one day. And I was like, no, it's not. Well, it did. You know, and knock on wood, I haven't sustained any like horrific injuries. Most of my injuries are jiu-jitsu related just because of the randomness of the sport. You step one way, a guy goes to sweep you, your knee pops. It is what it is. And 15 plus years of jiu-jitsu will do that. But I was always pretty smart with my weight training, even when I was like in my 20s. I was never that dumb. I probably could handle more volume when you're younger because you just recover faster. And plus, like when you're younger, there's not a lot going on in your life. You don't have kids, or you don't have a mortgage or a stressful job. Like you could sleep and eat all day. Really? Like what do you got to go to college? You know, like it's not, nothing's really happening. Plus you're younger, so you bounce back faster. So say if you could handle, you know, 25 reps in a workout. So you do 5 sets of 5 on the deadlift at a 80% or 85%. That might, you know, you might take a day or so, a day and a half to recover from that. But at my age, that might be like a 2 to 3 day thing. So it just takes a little bit more. Same with the hard jiu-jitsu session. So now the analogy that I always give is the glass of water, right? So if I give you a glass of water on Monday, every stress in your life, whether it has a good or bad response, is you taking a sip of that water. So weight training, jiu-jitsu, these are all stresses. The response is beneficial, but it's still a stress, and your body recognizes it as a stress. Just like if you're dating somebody who's toxic, or you know, have tons of bills, these are all stresses. So the more sips of that water you take and the less recovery you implement in your life, you know, you might be done that glass of water and it's only Wednesday.
Right.
While you train Thursday and Friday, now we're under recovering or overtraining, right? To get back to your question though, for my own training, I just have to make good exercise selections and be very careful with my volume. Like I can't go and roll for an hour straight. Rolling is like sparring in jiu-jitsu. Yep. And then be like, okay, cool, I'm going to go do a heavy deadlift session. Like that would just be like an error in terms of what I'm doing for my own body.
Right. But for example, like how would you double the size of your arm?
Okay, so if my goal is to body build,
to body build, what's the difference between bodybuilding?
So if you're a bodybuilder, most of the magic of bodybuilder, steroids aside, is in the diet, right? Okay. So all training is a stimulus. But if you don't have anything if that stimulus doesn't do anything, or you don't take in the necessary calories or do the necessary things to grow from that stimulus, nothing will happen.
Is this an eat more? You're saying eat more?
If you're trying to increase the size of your bicep, or you're trying to get big, you have to put on weight. I can't just do a bunch of bicep curls and then eat like a normal person. My bicep's going to be massive, because you would see a bunch of dudes walking outside with huge arms and there's regular bodies. Like it doesn't work that way. Like, you know, it's the same thing. Like if you're overweight and you do crunches all day, you're not going to have abs. You're not going to be like 20 pounds overweight and just shredded six packs. It's just the body isn't worth it. It's like, look at these abs, you know, like. I wish it looked that way, but it's just not reality, right? So if your goal is to, you know, the word's called hypertrophy, or increase like the actual cell size, your goal, you have to send a stimulus of growth. So you have to do enough repetitions and sets and all that stuff at a certain amount of intensity to send that signal. But then you need to take in tons of calories to feed that signal.
Okay.
And sleep a lot. And then, you know, steroids do help. I'm not saying every bodybuilder is, but the examples you're thinking of, they're on huge amounts of steroids. Okay. And all steroids are basically like testosterone derivatives.
Okay.
You know? So, you know, you're younger than me. Your testosterone's probably at its peak right now, and it'll start to go down. If you don't have these hormonal signals to do things, like the things won't happen. This is why you don't see a natural 65-year-old who has more muscle mass than a jacked 20-year-old.
Right.
Like, he just doesn't have enough testosterone.
Right.
Right.
This is also good because I was like, when I first started lifting weights, I was like, oh, damn, like, I don't want to I don't want to lift too heavy because like my muscles are going to pop out of my arms and my outfits aren't going to fit or something. And it's like, that was not ever going to happen.
Yeah.
No.
I think the education on that has gone a lot better because now with social media, you see a lot of positive female examples. And look, if you lift weights, like you'll add some muscle.
Yeah.
But when a female client comes to me and they're like, I want to tone, but I don't want to put any muscle. I'm like, what are you asking me to do? Like, tone what? You don't have any muscle.
Yeah,
like,
you need to make some muscle in order to tone it.
Right. And when you say I want to tone my body, all you're really saying is I want muscle mass and less body fat.
Right.
Like, I'm not actually shaping your bicep. Like, I'm not like, I can't go into your bicep and like shape it differently. Like, that's all predetermined.
Totally.
Like muscle insertion points and origins, like that's your genetics.
Right.
That's why some people flex in their biceps very short. Some people's are longer. Like, these are muscle bellies. Like, I don't make those rules.
Right.
That's blame your parents on that one,
But there's not a lot of girls walking around going, like really jacked girls going, Casie snuck up on me. Like, I was wearing a dress a couple weeks ago and then look at all this.
Like, where did all this muscle come from? Like, the girls who are quote unquote jacked are like, they're trying to do that.
They're working to get that way.
Yeah. And like some people have better genetics than others. Some people have worse. I think the genetic card is played a little too much, but it definitely is a factor.
Right.
Like I'm 6'4" and I'm 225. Like you've obviously met my mom. My mom's big, broad shoulders, big head. Like that's who designed me.
Yeah.
My dad's short. He's Italian. He's only like 5'8". My mom's 5'10". My mom's taller than him.
Okay.
So if I had more of my father's genetics, I might hold a little bit more body fat. Like you've known me, I've always been a skinny kid my whole life.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to put on weight. Like if I don't eat in excess and lift in excess, I actually lose weight fast.
Right.
So they would call me what's called a hard gainer.
Right.
Where you might have another kid who looks at a donut and he like blows up.
Yeah.
But those guys have more potential to get strong because they could put on weight and hold it.
Right.
Yeah, I would be an easy gainer.
Yeah.
You look at it, no donuts for you.
Yeah, no,
It's
I
true.
don't even look at that.
But he probably has a big potential to put on more muscle mass because he could add mass to his body.
Potential.
Potential.
You have a lot of
Potentially.
potential.
Yeah.
If he started lifting. I don't know if you're lifting, so.
Not
Just
enough. I'm lifting
lifting
a
very
10-month-old.
Lifting
But
your
like this?
baby. Doing crunches with the baby.
But yeah, I mean, you're a good size to easily sign on that absolute line.
I think
versus,
so. Yeah.
Versus
Yeah, like I'm a
five.
bigger guy. Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of 6'4", 225s walking around like a true 6'4", I've been tall my whole
Those are
life.
my
a
favorite.
true 6'4".
Not like a dating app 6'4" when you're really like 5'11". It's like that's what 6'4" looks like. I swear it was bigger.
I've heard that happens a lot. I mean, I've never ever used a dating app, but apparently that
I'll
happens.
tell you this: if a guy says he's 6 feet on a dating app, he's 100% not 6 feet. 6 feet means 5'9". 6'1" means 5'11". But I'm a true 6'4".
Okay. Note that.
Note that.
So you are 6'5" in shoes, I guess.
Probably like 6'4"
Are
and a
you on
half.
any
Yeah.
dating apps for anyone listening?
But
That wasn't a no.
no, I do have a girlfriend.
Okay.
So that also wasn't a no.
She's 5'9", so if we have a kid, the kid's gonna be a unit,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I haven't heard that since I used to hang out with hockey people.
Well,
my
that's
brother plays hockey professionally,
yeah.
so that's where it comes from.
Brilliant.
professionally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Plays in Russia.
I know.
He
Wow.
was in the Olympics too. You sent
Yeah.
me a message, right?
100%.
You and your brother. I
Really?
can't remember. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last
We've been-
Olympics.
Cool.
Eddie fans our whole lives pretty well.
Yeah. I'll tell a story. This is for me and Nell, but this is a good story.
Yeah.
So I am very close to my brother. My brother is somebody I look up to. In my opinion, my brother, he's younger than me. He's 2 years younger than me. There's no one who's more disciplined than my brother. This kid's like a robot. He's played professional, you could say professional hockey, even though he wasn't paid for it since he was 8 years old. Like he's played the highest level.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. This is this girl we used to hang out with. I'm not going to name her name. I'll tell you after. We were sitting, they used to have in their backyard like a fire pit. We'd all hang out.
Mhm.
And this girl, I was 14 maybe. So my brother would have been 12, right? Nowhere close to the NHL. And I remember this girl was looking me in the eyes like, your brother will never play in the NHL, blah, like giving me all these statistics. And I looked at her, I stopped and I said, I guarantee he will play in the NHL. And I got like cold and I'll never forget that. And the first game my brother played in the NHL, I remember that story. I'm like, I was right. Right? But he's a goalie.
Yeah,
So
cool.
He didn't start out being a child that I would have been like, he's disciplined, he's going to make the NHL.
no, he's
right. Like,
but you also didn't know him like I
really
yeah,
young,
yeah.
really young. But
Yeah.
I'm literally saying like maybe 8 when he was 8, 9. You know,
like
what I
when we
mean?
were at Crestwood.
like when we were at Crestwood. Yeah, you wouldn't have picked him out of you wouldn't have. But
It's hard to know at that age though.
it is.
You know?
Yeah. Well, obviously, yeah. It was. And he started. I mean, he took hockey very seriously.
Yeah.
When he was 10, I guess.
So
He
the
was
thing
right.
about
We
hockey,
used to go to his games.
yeah, we used to go to his games too. Hockey's a
Grilled
tough
cheese
sport.
sandwiches at those games.
Hockey's a tough sport because the path to the NHL is you have to be good young. There's no college.
Totally.
Like kids can go to college now, but it's very tough to go to the NHL. You get drafted to the NHL at 18.
Yeah.
So if you don't have your ducks in a row at like 14, 15, and 16, good luck.
Right.
Where basketball, football, it's, they could go to university, figure it out in university, and then like go into the draft when they want. They could be drafted at 22. That's not how hockey works, right? So my brother was drafted to the NHL in 2009. He was 18, 19 years old and, played in the American League, which is like a feeder system.
Yep.
Played a couple games in the NHL, and then Russian League called the KHL, offered him a big contract. So he took the money and he's playing there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, okay, back to your point. So when it comes to muscle size, again, the weight training, think of the weights as the stimulus, but if you're not recovering from the stimulus, you're not doing the bulk of the work.
Mm-hmm.
The food, the sleep, stress management. Sleep is, I think, the most underrated. That should be
I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sleep is very, very important if you want to grow and get stronger. There was a study that they had 2 groups on the same calorie deficit. So if you're in a calorie deficit, let's say your maintenance calories are 2,000. So if you eat 2,000 calories per day, your weight doesn't go up or down.
Uh-huh.
They put them on a deficit. So let's say 1,500. You should be losing about a pound a week. The group that was sleeping regularly and the group that wasn't sleeping regularly both lost the same amount of weight. But the group that was sleeping regularly retained 60% of their muscle mass, 60% more.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, wow.
So they had the same.
So they were kind of losing more weight too, because
they're
losing more fat, burning more fat.
Yeah.
their body composition remained better than that group.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have an Apex sleep?
No,
No.
no, we don't. I'm very
That
big
one's
on
up to
sleep.
yours.
Yeah,
That
I'm
one's
very big on
I'll
sleep.
take the Apex sleep.
It's like, all right, go to bed. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an app and you just log it and it counts as your workout hours.
Yeah. Sleep is very important. I'm up at 4 a.m, so I'm usually in bed at like
you're up.
Yeah. What time do you
You're
go to bed?
8:30.
Yeah.
Wow.
8:30 to 9.
Not a lot of Netflix in your pastime, I guess.
My day is just like take a regular day and just shift it down.
Yeah. Well, that's
Like by
what's been
12
happening.
o'clock, I've already like done everything.
Yes.
But I enjoy it. Like it was a little bit tough to adjust in the beginning. As I became an early riser, and I remember the first time like waking up at like 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. was tough. And then, you just slowly chip away at it, 30 minutes here and there.
Yeah.
You get an early client. Next thing you know, you have a 6 a.m. client. Well, I got to be up at 5.
Oh yeah.
I've had a 5 a.m. client. I used to wake up at 3:30. That one I never adjusted to, but,
Yeah.
love getting up
I'm up
early.
at 5.
I'm out running usually at 7:30.
And I think people who are early risers, they tend to get more things done.
I get so much done. I called Nell at 8:30 this morning. And I'm like, talking about things about the day. And like,
Yeah.
I knew he was up, but it's like, normally you wouldn't call someone you work with at 8:30 in the morning and like give them your plan for the day. But I mean, I love getting up. I went through a while, like I had, COVID last year, and it's like it took a long time for me to get back into my running and getting up early because I just felt like haggard. But I was haggard. I just couldn't do it. But I mean, I'm back to it now. And like, if I don't get up early and I don't run, it's like I feel like my whole day I'm slugging. But if it's like if I get up early and I'm like get my shit done, it's like I feel like a champion.
Yeah, I don't have any like statistics or like studies on that, but just from like my own point of view, I feel like if I oversleep or stay in bed and drag it on, you become almost less productive and you're like more tired throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Yeah,
I found that as well.
I think it's just building momentum, right? Like you make your bed, you have coffee, you're out running, and next thing you know, like the ball's rolling, like endorphins are going, and you feel good.
Yeah.
At my gym, the people I find who are the most successful do train early in the morning. That's not saying that people who train later at night aren't. I just find the people in the morning, they never miss sessions because there's not a lot of obstacles in between like waking up at 6 a.m. Like
Right.
what could really go wrong?
You just
Right.
get up out. I lay my stuff out I lay my stuff out, and I literally sometimes like I've had times where I'm like I have had my gym clothes on, I slept in my clothes, and I get up in the morning, I just put on my socks and my shoes, and I go right outside.
That's perfect.
There's something really wonderful being up and going before most people are up and going.
Yeah,
You get this, like you're not getting emails, you're not getting, it's just, it's
a
so
great
nice.
time of day.
And I think people who are, higher achievers or more on top of their life tend to do that. They tend to like wake up earlier. They tend to get the physical activity out of the way early. That might just be people that I know or my, what I've seen in the world. But
I think it's a thing because like a lot of, you look at some of the most successful people, there's articles about it all the time that like that's a common thing through people who are more successful is that they often get up early and get things done.
Yeah. The time I wake up is not mandatory. I go to the gym for 5:30 to 6 in that time window, but I just don't like to rush in the morning.
Yeah.
So my alarm's set for 4:15. It rarely wakes me up. Usually I'm up at 4, but I don't like to rush. Like I have a whole routine that I do, and that kind of sets the tone for the day. Make my bed, listen to a podcast, coffee, that whole thing. Whatever
Sort of room to putter.
Yeah. Like whatever morning routine you need is fine. I just don't like, okay, what's the minimum amount of time that I need? It's like, okay, I got to be there at 6. I'll wake up at 5:30 and then you're rushing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a good way to start.
Yeah. But I've learned that later in life.
Yeah.
Like when I was 18, it's like, okay, I got to be there at 8. I could wake up at 7:42. Going, done.
Not anymore.
You mature, right? So.
Totally.
Yep.
Where do you see your gym and your career in 5 years?
Okay, so this is actually very interesting. Like I was saying before, I am outsourcing a lot of my in-person clients. During COVID, I'll be honest now because it's kind of done. We were just illegally training people all day. If anyone tries to arrest me, this is not Matthew. Yeah. This is for legal purposes. But we were.
It's a deep fake.
Yeah,
the whole episode's deep fake.
I have Apex, and then my friend. We have a gym on top of Chesswood Arena, which is a hockey rink.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I know Chess. Well, I mean,
You probably know Jesse Hepshire because he went to school with him. Yeah. Hebsy, his family owns the Toronto Red Wings, which is a AAA organization my brother played for growing up. So he has the right on top of the rink, he has a gym there. And right when COVID happened, he does jiu-jitsu as well. We decided to buy mats and put them down. We don't know how long this is going to go for. And jiu-jitsu is the least COVID-friendly activity you could possibly do. Right. The whole goal is to like smash somebody like that. Yeah. Like to be this close to somebody.
Close.
Like if you want, like all the jiu-jitsu gyms were closed and like red flagged. And they even did like a news report on my gym and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going a week without doing jiu-jitsu. So we'll figure this out. We got our own mats. We built our own training and we made it open to everyone to train with us. I was also traveling to Hamilton to train with my buddies who had a gym there too, boarded up windows, stuff like that. And then when we put the mats down, I said, look, this gym, because the mat space is not that big. The actual facility was pretty big. I'm like, let me buy some equipment. We'll outfit this with some more equipment and we'll just like get this started because all the hockey kids need to train here because it's part of their... it's built into the payment that they make per season.
Oh,
right.
So they have like off-ice training once per week.
Right.
Obviously, at the time, we didn't know COVID and things would be locked down. Like my gym was essentially locked down for 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's insane.
Crazy.
It was a lot. We didn't know that. We're talking like March, April 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I told my guys at Apex, I said, look, what do you need from me in order to continue to work and in order to make everyone feel comfortable? So they told me what it was. And I'm like, cool, we're just going to run personal training here. I'm going to not have any of the gym memberships because it's just too much in and out, too much like visibility. Like we need to kind of stay off the grid. Also, personal training is easier to control because we could plan it at certain times. We could make sure not too many people are in the gym because whether you
social distance with that.
Yeah, whatever your opinion is on COVID, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, if a client doesn't feel comfortable, they're not going to train with you.
Yeah.
So if you think this is all bullshit and you're like, it doesn't matter because they make the decision. They've hired you to be their coach. So everything was going to be at a schedule. And then I'm like, I'm going to take all my clients to Chesswood because I have a key to the rink. Because Jesse got me a key to the rink. So I have access to that because the rink was closed.
Right.
And we built a little gym on top of there. I started training people and doing jiu-jitsu. And it was great. And all my coaches were happy. And when COVID started to end and things started opening up, I wanted to like give all my clients to another one of my coaches or disperse them. I had some that had fallen off too, because some people had hired me during COVID because there weren't actual gyms open. So it was like, I'm going to hire you as a coach for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of found myself in a place where I didn't have a lot of clients, but I was actually happy because all of my coaches had clients, which is also bringing money to the gym.
Yeah.
We have our membership built up and everything is going good. But personally, I just felt like I wasn't working enough. Like I would have days, I would have like going from 5 sessions a day to 1 or 2 a week.
Wow, right.
Oh, wow,
right.
that's a big change.
Yeah, and it's like you just feel not like useless, but I just felt like selfish. I was just doing jiu-jitsu all day, going hiking with my dog. I wasn't like serving anybody, you know? So then I decided to hire a business coach, and I said, my friend referred me, and I said, I want to learn how to grow like the online training space, because that really got popular during COVID, right? Yeah. Obviously, you couldn't see people. Online coaches got popular, and not online coaching from the standpoint of like, you're just doing a workout and I'm zooming it to you. It's more like I'm a coach. I provide you the program. We have communication back and forth. There's apps that you could use that make it very user-friendly. And it's essentially as if I was there.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like about that is it's a new challenge for me. And also it's not restricting me time-wise. It's not like you have to be at a 9 a.m. session.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So I hired him to kind of show me how to do this. Right? And I just launched that 2 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Basically, what the whole thing was is my social media presence was not anything really. It was just like pictures of me and my dog and like me doing, like there was no like, who is this person?
Right.
So he basically helped me create an avatar who's like your, client that you want to target and start creating stuff for that. And one thing that I'm big on is obviously strength training and all these things are good, but you fall to the level of your systems.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if somebody's like trying to get in shape or they're trying to eat better, you're not going to go from like getting takeout every night to now all of a sudden getting Tupperware and meal prepping. You're like, yeah, I'm good. Like you're going to do that for 3 days and you're going to be like, I hate my life.
You're right.
Yeah. It doesn't work like
It doesn't work like that. Just like you wouldn't put a child in school and be like, okay, this is how addition works. And the next day's algebra.
Yeah, exactly.
There needs to be steps. And I think a lot of coaches who have, I don't want to say made it to like the end of the game, but people who are at level 10 forget what level 1 was like.
Yes.
Right. And there's a lot of things that I do that I could help people get there, but I need to figure out how they get there. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go from not working out at all to working 4 days a week, well, why don't we try with 1 day a week?
Yeah, for sure.
Because like if you say I'm going to do 4 days a week and then week 2 you miss 1 session and 3 days a week, now you feel like a failure.
Right.
Yeah.
So all the content I'm trying to create is more about habit building, about creating systems that will help get you in the best physical, mental, whatever shape you want to be in.
Yeah, fantastic.
But I really think that if you don't have these habits built in and you don't have these systems built in, you're signed up to fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could take anything that anyone's got good at or, education, this, that, and it's all about systems. It's all about being consistent, and it's all about how do I set myself up to not fail.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. And you don't do it by driving yourself into a brick wall.
Yeah, you don't do it by like, I'm going to go buy a bunch of Tupperware and start making chicken and broccoli. It's like, dude, you're eating Kraft dinner the other day. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Or you got like Uber Eats, McDonald's.
Yeah, like why don't we just start with like at least tracking what you're eating and just so you are at least aware of it.
Right.
Yeah, pay attention to what you're doing. Yeah.
And it's the same thing. Like when you entered the gym, they started with a barbell. They didn't say, okay, max effort squats, 225, let's go.
Yeah. No, it was like I started with the bar and then I started like, different things like, okay, doing sit-ups. Like, I mean, just doing certain things. But now like I do my sit-ups like holding a weight, I'm like doing things like they modify all the exercises so that I can do it a little bit harder because they know that I want to go a little bit harder.
The foundation of training is called progressive overload.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a story in the Bible that I don't know the story, but it's like the kid was born and a calf was born, and he would put the calf on his shoulder and walk up the hill. As he got bigger and stronger, the calf got bigger. Progressive overload.
Right.
Calf weighs 10 pounds. Week 10, it weighs 100 pounds.
Right.
And you could apply that to anything you want to do in your life. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people go 0 to 100 way too fast. They either burn out or they have a negative experience.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is, I don't know what it's like to be at level 1. To be honest, I was 18 when I started doing jiu-jitsu, when I started lifting, and when I started doing all these things. But I think I'm at least smart enough to understand how I could take somebody from level 1 to get them to level 2, 3, and 4, and then build a system. So my online thing, I was basically creating all this content to reach those type of people, you know, like late 20s, early 30s. Somebody who probably just started their career and has lost a bit of touch of what they were like physically, you know. Maybe the recreational basketball league that they used to play and they can't play it anymore.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're sitting with 20 pounds of extra body weight that you don't want.
Right.
You know, 5 years goes by fast.
Yeah.
It's a couple pounds a year.
Oh, yeah.
Comes easy.
Not doing anything.
It comes easy.
It comes very easy. And the older you get and the less physical activity you get and the less habits you have, the more it'll come. And when you're 45, 50, 55 plus, it's a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my demographic. And then I, you know, put all these things together, launched this program. We have 10 people signed up. I only wanted to take on 10 because this is something that's new for me. And I wanted to make sure I could give people as much attention as possible. You know, within reason, it is online.
Yeah, this is virtual, right?
It's all virtual.
Is it, are you together with the 10 other people or is it individual?
Okay. So what I'm doing is for this particular program, it's 3 months and they get a custom workout program based on what, you know, if they've exercised before, equipment, accessibility to gyms, things like that. But the workout program is geared towards them. It's not just a stock program. They have a 1 time per week phone call with me where we could just kind of go through everything and, you know, see what they're struggling with, things like that. And plus we have communication through the app. Most of the people have my personal contact anyways. And then the last thing, I haven't done this yet because we're only 2 weeks in. I need to see a little bit more from people, but I want to make like a Facebook group or a community group so they could all, you know, talk amongst themselves.
Yeah, very nice.
Some people are at different levels. Like some people actually used to train at my gym and they're used to the style of training. So they're kind of, you know, going they're going with it a little bit faster. And then some people, this is kind of new for them. So I need to make sure that everyone is at least seeing the results or the gains that they would like to see. You know?
Yeah, that's fantastic. So it's 3 months.
3 months. I think people need to commit.
3 months is great.
I think that's a good.
I'll tell you, if in 3 months you're accepting more people, I would be game.
Perfect.
All right.
We'll talk. We'll get you on a phone call. I'll be like, no.
Yeah, get me on a phone call.
Yeah.
I'd love
amazing.
that.
I think people need to commit, not just in themselves, but they need to be accountable to me.
That's what I loved about Bernstein too, because I did the diet with Bernstein. The accountability to these.
That's everything.
That's huge.
And I'll be straight up. The one way to be accountable is to spend money.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It is. The business coach I hired.
$650 a month, right?
I pay a good amount for my gym.
The business coach I hired, I don't want to say expensive because expensive is all relative, right?
Right.
But it was, if anyone would hear that amount of money that he was charging, you'd be like, whoa.
Right.
But he had 3 different options for me. And I said, look, I know how I am. If I don't go with the highest, most expensive one, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And even though I'm probably overpaying a little bit, I just know that will make me do it.
Mm-hmm. If it doesn't make you gag.
No, that's what I do.
If it doesn't hurt, it's not going to help.
Exactly.
I missed a class on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just lit that money on fire, you know, because I know that like if I miss a class, like I know that it's, you know, it's a certain amount and like I don't want to miss anything. I'm accountable to myself and I'm accountable to like I spent that money and it's like not like what you would pay at a Good Life or something like that.
Are you paying like a per class rate?
I pay like I pay a certain amount for every 4 weeks.
Gotcha.
For group personal training, but it's like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah. And it should be, right?
Yeah.
Because you're getting a better experience and you're probably cutting around all the wasted time that you would have.
Yeah. And it's like, I love it. And I've considered like, maybe I'll just go to a regular gym. And it's like, no, I'm never doing that.
Yeah. And I think like, I don't think it's a good idea to cheap out on yourself.
No.
You know?
You got to invest in yourself.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, like what do you really actually have? Like all of this is great, but I don't have any, like these clothes and shoes and tables and whatever. This is not real, right? The only things you have is your mind and your body, right? Everything else could explode. You'll still be stuck with your body. There's a phrase, wherever you go, there you are, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not content with yourself, like if you can't sit with yourself and be okay with that, well, at least head in the right direction to fix it, right?
Yeah, I'll see you in 3 months.
Have I sold you?
Yeah, it's all me.
No, look, now the price goes up. We'll talk.
Accountable.
Do you have like a fee that I can lock in right now? Or?
Amazing.
So
Awesome.
yeah, like obviously most of the work that I do is on people's like physical appearance or their bodies. But as you know yourself, like there's a lot of confidence and self-esteem that goes with getting stronger and lifting weights and accomplishing things. And it might feel silly to somebody like, oh, you squatted 150 and now you squat 160. It's like, well, that took a lot of effort.
Yeah, it took a
and
long
that
time,
took a
yeah.
lot of dedication to me. And I think getting good at anything like bass, drums, or whatever it is, this is how people build self-esteem. For me, it was jiu-jitsu.
And identity.
Yeah.
Identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think about this a lot with Ariel, my daughter. And, and you know, when I was young, even before a lot younger than that, I always had a tremendous self-identity.
Right.
That was completely disconnected from like the culture. I never looked to the culture to stamp an identity on me. I was never like looking for stuff.
I was like that too.
I like knew myself. I had already had confidence that I was good at certain things and I had certain ambitions and hobbies and interests. And it was just, you know.
So when I re-met Henry, I wasn't like that.
Right.
My first thing was music. And that's why it's music, whatever relationship I have with it is very special to me.
Yes.
Now I'm like an active listener, you could say, somebody who like searches out music and is always excited to hear new things. But when I had re-met Henry in that grade 9 class, I didn't really know like who I was. You know what I'm saying? And I think at that age too, some people confuse that with depression. And you're not depressed. Like obviously there is depression. I don't want to downplay that. But I think a lot of people, there must be something wrong with me.
Right.
Well, you just got to do something, man. Like you literally does, and it could be anything. Go bird watching, go like walking around. Like, I don't know, just do something. I just didn't know that at the time. And it wasn't until he stepped in, I'm like, oh, this is like a thing. And now I'm part of a community and like this is really cool. And then jiu-jitsu was like that for me and weight training. And like, now I could help teach other people like that, because if you don't learn that for yourself, that could go on for years. You could be a 35-year-old being like, I guess I'm just depressed.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Have you tried anything?
Yeah. Have you done anything physical or anything that challenges your brain or your body or anything to get better at something? Like, who are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a really good point.
So for me, there was those 3 stages: the music first, the jiu-jitsu competitor, and now the gym owner, you know,
Train.
Yeah. Trying to like transition in the online space. But this is like the new thing that I'm trying to do. And I think obviously there's a lot of competitors out there, but this market's wide open, right?
Yeah, I agree.
There's tons. And for me, I'm not trying to sell a low ticket item to hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
I'm trying to sell a higher ticket item to like 50 people.
Right.
Right.
Yet at the same time, having a larger pool of people of potential buyers.
Right. And I think that what sprung me to try to grow my Instagram and go from like maybe posting once every 2 weeks, like a picture of me and my dog with a stupid caption, to now at one point I was posting like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he had taught me strategies, you know, engagement sprints, investment sprints, making sure you're creating conversations and on the back end as well.
Yeah.
Things that, to be honest, if I probably like Google it, I'd figure out how to do it. But having a coach and paying that money to the
It helped
coach,
you fast track.
it helped me fast track, and it also made me want to do it, because just like you paying the training cost, like you don't want to burn your money.
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of like where my head's at now. I really want to grow that. Again, I'm not opposed to taking people in person, but it would have to be perfect client, perfect time. I'm not going to like train somebody at 7 p.m. Right? Like I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
Like I'll give that to, like I have like 6 coaches that would be happy to take that client on. But if you want to work out with me at a specific time and you're good to do that, I might take you on, right?
Yeah.
But online, I'm taking everyone on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you all the success in the world. With
Thank you.
that. And it's been just incredible to see you
man.
and for you to be here.
I need those videos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll send them to you.
We'll send them to you. Amazing. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for tuning into this episode with Matthew Pasquale. Visit apextrainingcenter.com to check out his gym. That's apextrainingcenter.com to check it out.
Find more episodes of our podcast at catsofcreators.com. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or follow on your favorite podcast platform.